to the girls, to the ghouls, to the gays, to the gagged, the grannies, whoever you are, however you're feeling, you're in the right place, because for this spooky season, we are starting with some cozy, spooky, hexy, pumpkin spiced reads that will get us in a really good, cozy start to spooky season, although it is already halfway through spooky season. Forget about that. So bear with me. See you in a minute, and we will discuss what I'm going to be reading this week. Okay, as you can see, I have my little bat fairy lights behind me. I would have a candle, but where the curtain is, it's a little bit of a fire hazard, so we won't do that. I have my witchest shawl. I have a goth t-shirt that you can't see. Spooky season is upon us. And I am planning to spend this week reading accordingly. Now, the plan originally was to read horror because I enjoy horror. I've got a huge backlog of horror books on my TBR. There are a lot of options for me, and I still will be reading some horror during this period. But I thought there is one category of book that I have a lot of, but I don't read it throughout the year in the way I read horror throughout the year, because it's so seasonal and I'm such a mood reader that I never want to read those books at any other time. And that is a very specific brand of books that I call pumpkin spice books. Not a spice in the romance sense, in the Starbucks coffee, slightly commercialized Halloween sense. We're talking cozy, witchy, often with the word hex in the title, often a romance, but not always, often with a purple cover. Words like spells, witchy, X features a lot because it rhymes with hex. This brand, you will be familiar with it as a book person on the internet. I have a lot of it. I also have a lot of just other pumpkin spice kind of themed autumnal books as well. And so I've gathered a list together. We're going to talk about the options, and I'm going to talk about what I'm reading right now and what I'll be reading for the rest of this week. Just to also give you a heads up, I am going on a trip on Friday. It is Tuesday now, and it's going to be a long weekend through to next Tuesday, where I won't have any time to read because it's going to be the kind of thing where you are constantly out and about. So you will get some footage from it, and it's going to be kind of in theme. And I'll tell you all about that later. But first, let's talk books. Yeah, so I wanted something that fitted with my mood, and my mood is very much I'm a tired girl. I just want nice, lovely things rather than complicated reads. So here we are. And what I've done naturally is I've seen this massive list of options and I want to read all of them, and I'm stressing myself out. That's not what we're here for. So the first book I wanted to read for this week was Raven Song, which is the sequel to TJ Klune's Wolf Song, which I loved. It was just one of the best things I read last year. I bought it in hardback, which I never do because I loved it so much. That book was everything to me and I loved it. So I thought, well, Raven Song is the perfect book for this week. It's autumnal, it's wolves, it's cozy, it's queer, yes. And what happened when I was kind of tired and stressed last night is that I opened it up, immediately couldn't remember who half of the people were or what had happened at the end of the last book, except in the vaguest of details, and was like, I'm going to actually have to look this up and do some work. So we're putting that on pause because I do not have it in me to do homework for a cozy read. I do want to read it though, because again, I loved the first book so much. But it's just that kind of everything was happening at the end, and I suddenly don't remember enough of what was happening to really feel clear. So then I made a list of all of my other options and narrowed it down from about 30 options. I say narrowed it down. Again, I've got two real working days before I go away, and we'll have very little time to read, and then this video needs to be edited. So how much I'm going to be able to fit in is anyone's guess. But I want to try and read 3, but if not 2 will be good. So I have started with The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This I've been meaning to read for ages and ages. Basically, my friends recommended it. At least 2 or 3 of my friends have read this book and gave it high ratings and loved it. I want to read it, want to love it. Sounds amazing. And it's cozy looking, fantasy, yes. I don't know why I've been putting it off quite as much as I have. I think it's my constant fear that when my friends give things high ratings and I don't, my reputation for being a bit difficult about books increases. And I'm not. I'm really not. But I think I was a bit intimidated and a bit worried. So that's probably all that's put me off it. It has been one of the books I've been meaning to read the most this year. So I started it and I have been extremely pleasantly surprised. I started this yesterday, so I meant to record this before I started reading it, but then I ordered a new camera and I was like, well, I might as well record everything on the new camera. So hopefully it's all looking good out there. I'm slightly worried it's on a wonk because I'm kind of sitting at an angle, so every time I look, it's like, is it the camera or is it me? Oh, but yes, I started this yesterday and immediately fell in love with it. It's just lovely so far. So the plot is the main character, whose name currently escapes me because I was listening to the audiobook and I don't take in names very well in audio. Kayla, I want to say. I might put it on the screen. She is a librarian for a fantasy kingdom, and she is more than happy to live in her library, never see anyone, never do anything except pour through these magic books and keep them safe. And she lives a very sheltered life with virtually no interest in the outside world at all. But then the kingdom, there is a civil war. The rebels attack the palace, and she is forced to flee with the books she can carry and her assistant, who is a talking plant. And she gets into a boat and has nowhere to go because the kingdom is, mid rebellion. But she remembers she has an old family cottage from many, many years before on a remote island. So if she can get to this remote cottage, she has somewhere to lay low with the books that she has technically kind of stolen. And so it's really just her fixing up this ruined cottage, and being forced as a massive introvert to start meeting locals, making friendships, building a business, and potentially falling in love. So it's not overly complicated. It's cozy in the best of senses. So far, I'm enjoying all of the characters and the world building. It's a fantasy world where everything is just described a little bit weird and differently. There's horse fish and there's merfolk and there's cats with wings, and it's that kind of world. Um, and I'm liking everything. I would say the main character is annoying me a little bit. I know she's on a sort of emotional journey, which is fine. However, I think it's that thing where a character has traits that you have that you dislike in yourself, and so you hate them a little bit, even though it, that character is perfectly valid, just as you're a perfectly valid person. But those traits annoy you because you see them in yourself, and it was very much that for me. I'm just like, I can see the bits of me that I've worked very hard to overcome, and she has to work hard to overcome them. And it's very much like, no, why are you doing this? You can get over this. I had to. It's that. So that's not an issue with the author or the book. That's an issue with me. However, really like it so far. The romance isn't like, I'm not kicking my feet here, but it's cute so far, and I think it will grow on me. The plant is the best character by a country mile. She's making a lot of jam. I'm not sure how accurately she's making it, but I assume the author looked it up. If you like things like Stardew Valley, things like Legends and Lattes, this is going to be for you. But I'm halfway through. I'll see how I get on in the other half of the book and report back. And then we're going to talk about what I'm going to read next. So looking at my options, of which I have many, I really want to get one of the ones with hex off my list because I have so many books with the word hex in. And there's a series that's like hex appeal, hex in the city. There was hex and hexability, which I've read previously, but that series, it would be really good to get that one of those read. I'm also thinking about potentially reading Cursed Cocktails, which I have as an audiobook, which is kind of Legends and Lattes but cocktails. So that may be a good one. And again, I won't have time to read all of these, but I'm just really thinking of what my priorities will be. I've also got A Pinch of Magic, which is a middle grade book. Now, I don't read middle grade books. What happened was I got carried away in the Kobo sale, saw a fantasy book for 99p, didn't really check it enough, and then was like, oh, I've accidentally bought a middle grade book. Damn. So I am probably not going to want to read it in normal circumstances. This sort of challenge is the best way for me to read it. So I will be hopefully reading that very shortly. Something keeps beeping, and I'm not sure if it's my new camera, which I'm very scared of, or it's something outside. I'm hoping it's something outside that I don't have to worry about, and that this recording is all recording as it should be recording. But yes, that's the only reason I'm probably going to read that particular book. I really have to stop going, oh, I want to read that, because this is a list of books that I own, and of course I want to read the majority of them. But I think if we can make a vague plan to read Cursed Cocktails and potentially one of the Hex books, which is the one that appealed to me most, Hex in the City, which is kind of like a witch versus celebrity rock star in a cozy Covent Garden bookshop kind of thing. So we'll see. I will come back to you when I have finished the spell shop, and then we'll see where we are.
Hey, so this video turned into an absolute nightmare. It was meant to be a reading vlog where I kind of gave you some updates, and I knew it was going to be a little bit difficult because I was going on holiday. So what actually happened is that I went on holiday and immediately got struck down by a horrible virus. It was like a cold, but there was definite flu-y elements, so I felt rubbish. So I managed to do some things on my holiday, but also not all of the things I wanted to do, and also I spent a lot of time in bed being really quite terrible company for my friend. she was also ill as well with something different, so we were a right pair between us. But hey. So yeah, then I got back and I obviously was just wiped out, and I was meant to wrap up this video, finish it, post it once I got back. But I was just in no state to do that. I wasn't in a state to be able to record. I wasn't in a state to be able to do much in the way of editing. So I kind of slapped together a short video, which I still think is very good and worth checking out, which I sort of went through the books I bought on holiday, which was just about all I had the energy for. And then really, I thought, oh, no, at the weekend, once I'm better, which is now, I will do this video and edit it. And yes, I'm finally kind of here doing it. But I haven't talked about any of the books I've read yet in any length or detail. So we're going to do that. But first, enjoy a little montage of my holiday. Okay, did you enjoy that? Did you skip over it? I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Hopefully you will enjoy it. There were some really lovely places that I visited, and including Sherwood Forest, which is obviously the home of Robin Hood, and Chatsworth House, which is the inspiration for Pemberley in Pride and Prejudice. It was Jane Austen based Pemberley on Chatsworth House, which is almost obscenely luxurious and impressive. And then not only did she base it on that house, the Keira Knightley, Matthew McFadden 2005 Pride and Prejudice was filmed there. So you may have seen in that video there was the actual head, the bust of Matthew McFadden that she sees in the statue room in the film, and I really enjoyed the "Please do not kiss" label on it. So yes, really my biggest challenge there was just not buying all of the Jane Austen related goodies because they're very expensive. But yes, did Bakewell, which is a town famous for its Bakewell pudding dessert, which became Bakewell tarts, which are another famous kind of pastry. Then also Buxton, which is the home of Buxton mineral water and had a sort of Regency history, and where people sort of went to take the waters and recover. And then finally Haddon Hall, which is a fantastic Gothic manor house that was basically kind of mothballed for 200 years. The family moved out and they kept it maintained, but they just didn't live there. So it meant that it didn't get any renovation during the Georgian Regency and early Victorian period, which is basically, if you ever go to a manor house in the UK, basically that era is when a lot of those families did massive renovations to their homes, so a lot of the original history was lost. And in this case, the person who then decided to start renovating it in the early 1900s was the Lord, but also he was a historian himself, so he tried to renovate it with some sort of historical accuracy, which means that unlike many of the other manor houses, there is a real authenticity to it, it was just gorgeous, and it was so spooky and Gothic and fantastic. And they also had a magic kind of theme display on, which wasn't like hokey, but they decorated it and done floral things and made it very witchy and very, very Instagrammable, really. Was just lots of cute witchy things to see around the house, and it was generally very impressive. So yeah, that was everything that I kind of did. I also read a lot, because when I wasn't going around looking at manor houses, I was basically in bed, barely able to move. So I read more than I expected, because I was like, when I was leaving, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get anything read for this video. I'm going to finish one book and then just about scrape another one. And instead, I finished 3 books for this video, and then also read like 2 other things completely unconnected to it. So I actually read loads. So let's get on to the books, which is what you're here for, or at least what I'm hoping you're here for. I would say, I know there's not a lot of viewers right now. That's to be expected. You know, I'm still very new. YouTube doesn't know what to do with me in the algorithm, all of these things. So I would say that if by any miracle at all you are watching this and have got this far into the video, really anything you do to engage with this video will help me so much, you've no idea. So if you could just give me a tiny little like, or most amazingly some sort of comment, just to let me know that a real person is out there watching this, and that they care in some form about what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I mean, obviously if you hate it, you hate it, and then I should suggest you click off and leave me be, but hopefully you're at least mildly entertained by what I'm doing. So yeah, anything you can do would be so wonderful, so appreciated. As I've said before, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm not really doing this for anything at all other than a desire to actually build a community where I can talk to people about books. So yeah, it's a really genuine thing. It's not I'm not doing this out of any sort of cynicism or, a desire to have it as a job. I already have a job. I just want to connect. So if you can do that, please do. But let's actually talk about the books. Okay, so the books that I read for this pumpkin spiced video. And oh my god, I actually meant to say I had my first pumpkin spice latte. So I've achieved the goal of this video to have a very pumpkin spice time. It was fine. I can't say it blew my mind as a coffee, but I enjoyed the experience of it. So, yay! I'm not actually a huge coffee person. I will drink it, but it's flavored coffees are a bit weird to me generally, and I'm not entirely sure pumpkin is this flavor for me. However, getting to experience it was really good. So the books. So the first book I finished for this video was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. As I said initially, this is one that I've been wanting to read for quite a while and was a little scared that I wasn't going to like it when all of my friends really did. I'm pleased to say I actually loved it. I thought it was a really great little book. It fulfilled its cozy promise exactly as I hoped, but it really had its own sense of a more detailed world building than I expected. It's usually with the cozy fantasy, it's very just generic D&D world, whereas it built its own world in some detail, and I really appreciated that, and it kind of felt like its own separate thing from, say, Legends and Lattes and things like that. So the plot of The Spell Shop is that a librarian who has worked in a palace for a long time and barely ever leaves the palace libraries, is forced to leave when there is a rebellion and the king is killed, and the rebels kind of take the castle and palace and start destroying the books. So she flees with all the books she can fit on her little boat, and her assistant, who is a talking plant. So it's just the two of them and the books, and she remembers that she has a family home, a sort of family cottage in a very remote island, and so having nowhere else to go, she returns to this old little cottage, and tries to tries to survive for as long as she can, and the only thing she can think to do is to start using the spells in the books, which is illegal, to try and support herself and to start helping this community, which has been kind of abandoned by the royal magicians and is suffering as a result. So it basically follows her trying to build up this secret magic spell shop under the guise of being a jam shop. Basically then sort of outsiders come in and start to suspect her. So yes, I really enjoyed it. I would say I gave it 4 stars, and for a while I thought it could be higher. I thought we could get 4.5. I think for me, it didn't linger on the cozy quite long enough. Building this little home and world. It moved on to a fairly generic kind of peril situation, which just went on a little bit too long, when I kind of felt like you knew it was all going to work out anyway. It could have just been a couple of scenes rather than like the whole latter third of the book. And because I cared, I was invested in this little business and home she was building. The other thing was the romance, which I wasn't invested in. It was absolutely fine, It's one of those things you don't hate reading it, but you just have no feelings about it at all. Like the romantic character, the man in this situation was so generic. Like I struggle to think of anything that made him a character. And they did sort of suggest that he had kind of sad backstory, and it was a sad backstory, but it wasn't anything that informed him as a character. It was just he's a lovely man, and this bad thing happened to him, so you should like him even more for this, having survived this bad thing. Whereas, and the bad thing, it didn't impact his behaviour in any way. It didn't inform the character. So yeah, I didn't hate the romance. I really didn't. But at the same time, it didn't. I wasn't kicking my feet. I wasn't giggling like a girl. I was just going, oh well, okay, this is happening. And that's that. I did like the fact it didn't go in for, there wasn't the typical romance misunderstandings or whatever. As with the sort of cozy bookshop, spell shop stuff, it was straightforward and peril-free. But yeah, I have to say it wasn't my favourite thing, especially as the other minor characters were far more interesting. So yes, I don't think I'm slagging this book off in any way. It was a really good time. 4 stars is a good rating for me. I really enjoyed it. I will certainly be checking out the sequel, which seems to be quite hard to get in the UK at the moment. I don't know whether it's just because it's recently out. Like, when I search for it, it comes up, like the German version comes up before the English version. So I don't know what's going on there. But I will be interested in checking out the newest one when that comes out. So yes, that's a win for our first pumpkin spice. Let's move on to the next one, which was slightly less of a win. So then I read Cursed Cocktails, which is a kind of freebie book that I've been meaning to read for some time. I got it Audible. It was an Audible Plus book. So I had it on my list for quite a while. And it's never quite appealed to me enough that I've been really rushed to start it, but I was in the mood for it. It's very pumpkin spiced, fantasy, low stakes, cozy, yes, and it's about cocktails. Who doesn't love cocktails? And I genuinely, for the first half of this book, they had me. I was like, yes, we found a winner. This book needs to be told, shared with the world. That was my phone. Yes, I was super hyped for the first half of the book. And then almost at the halfway point, I was like, it's not actually going anywhere, is it? There's no actual peril at all. And I don't mean peril even, I just mean there's no antagonist, there's no bad things that are ever going to happen. Yeah. So to give you a breakdown of what it's about, basically the main character is a blood mage who is a it's a kind of super powerful magician who uses their own bodily energy to fight off huge monsters. So they're kind of forced to go into the army and protect the world from these big beasts, and he has completed his service, but also is kind of been left broken because it has affected his body so badly. He is exhausted and in pain all the time, and his only dream is to open a bar and make cocktails, because his father travelled the world finding cocktail recipes and he's never tried any of them. So he ends up getting travelling to a warmer climate for the good of his body, and meeting someone who makes cocktails, befriending them, and they decided to go into business by buying a building that is said to be cursed, and he thinks that he can handle any curse that this building has, and that they will open their cocktails bar together. So that's more or less the ins and outs of the book. My issues, well, I'll say what I loved first. First of all, it was delightfully cozy. The characters were very sweet. the actual setting up of the business was very fun. The main character's backstory was, interesting, and the sort of elements where he was, elements of him maybe having a disability came into play, and sort of having trauma. And, I liked it. I liked that about it. But then at the halfway point, when I kind of realised that this book was all it was ever going to be, was kind of when, when he took on a cursed building, you expect the curse to impact the story in some way. Even, I need to put my phone on mute, sorry. Even when it's, it's going to be worked out really easily, and, it will all come good in the end. You do need some level of sort of drama. And instead it's literally like, oh yeah, this building that has chased off all these other people turns out to just have like some magic fox in it who is protecting the building, but for some reason the fox vibes with me, so hey, we're all good. It's like that level. And then he has this big thing about people finding out he's this blood mage, and then almost immediately like his business partner finds out, and it's just like, oh yeah, cool. It's like, why was this tension built up in the first place? What was the point? So yeah, that was my biggest letdown about it, just that there was no tension. And I didn't want a lot of tension, but there has to be some tension. The other thing, which I don't think it's unreasonable to go into this book expecting some form of queer romance. It's under the queer category. It has all the hallmarks and descriptions of a queer romance. And at the 75% mark, I was like, is it a queer romance? Is it a romance at all? Because at no point during the course of the book was there any romantic material. There's no feelings, there's no discussion. The two business partners are very clearly friends with nothing more than that. And there are things that you could interpret as a date, sure, but at the same time, neither party seems to be thinking of it in that way. It's like if they go out to the beach together and try a cocktail and have a picnic, and it would be romantic, but the main character is just like, yeah, out with my buddy having a cocktail, and then just at the very end, there's a kiss, and you're just like, okay, I don't really see where that came from. And if I had not realised this was going to be some sort of queer romance from the cover, I'd have been very surprised where this kiss had come from, because I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting there to be when I went into it, and by the 75% mark I wasn't expecting it, so this kiss was like, oh, okay, I'm not sure I actually kind of ship this. Yeah, it's very rare for me. I for the first 10%, I was like, yeah, they're going to be perfect for each other. And then at the end, I was just like, oh, actually, I kind of like you as friends now. I'm over it. So yeah, 3.5 is still better than average. It's still good. I think if you enjoy cozy stuff, if you like the idea of a cocktail bar in a fantasy world, you're going to have a good time. I think if you really want something that's very, very low stakes, very, very gentle, or if you want some form of romance that is beyond clean, like there's clean romance and then there's just a light dusting of clean romance even. So if you like that, that's going to appeal to you. I think it's not bad, and if you can get it for free via Audible Plus, obviously you pay for Audible, but if you've got access to Audible anyway, it's worth checking out. By the way, I'm still so sick. You have no idea how much of the coughing, wheezing and spluttering I'm going to be cutting out of this. Yeah. Okay. So then the third book, which I was kind of in my heart of hearts not expecting to get to, but I did, and I'm very pleased that I did. So the third book I read was Hex in the City by Kate Johnson. It's one of a series. She does a series that's like Hex Appeal, Hex and Hexability, and they're basically witchy romances. I would say they're not, well, I don't think they're interconnected really. Like, I've read 2 of them and there's no obvious connection, so I think they're just a series of witchy romances, with no theme running through them beyond that. So yeah, I really enjoyed Hex and Hexability. It was far more of an actual story than I expected. You know, it was there was an adventure story alongside the romance, which I found really satisfying and really well done. And so I kind of had high hopes for this, because I quite like just a plain witchy romance, which just mainly is romance with a soupçon of plot. The revenge one, Payback's a Witch. That particular book series is just really a very light plot with a lovely romance. I really like that. So yes, I like a cute witchy romance that doesn't have anything more than the romance. I don't mind that, but I really appreciate when there is more, and I thought Hex and Hexability did that really well. Then this Hex in the City did pretty much the same thing. Was a really solid romance, but with a very strong overall plot. Maybe not the most detailed plot in the world, but still pretty strong. You know, it held up as an entertaining thing as and of itself. So the plot basically follows the main character, who is a trainee witch who is basically been taken in by a coven in Highgate in London, and she is living in one of their homes and working in Covent Garden in a kind of tourist witchy shop, where she is sort of generally doing sort of arty, making jewellery, making cute bits for the shop, very basic stuff. And she's just living her life, but she's the kind of person who just attracts chaos. She also has the hair from Tangled, like, so she has this blonde hair that kind of reacts to everything around her. And she comes across as a bit of your sort of a ditzy rom-com character, but there is more to it, and the book doesn't let you think of her as just a klutzy dork for very long. So basically she, because she causes chaos so easily, she accidentally curses a amulet in the shop, and then a man comes in and buys the amulet, which he turns out to be a rock star. He's a rock star / magician, kind of a very theatrical kind of performer, who's known for being like super, super hot. So he has bought the amulet for a fellow performer who he has had an unfortunate one-night stand with, and she is not being chill about it at all. And so, fearing what is going to happen when this amulet is given to her, the witches start trying to track down the performer and stop the chaos that ensues. But of course, chaos keeps ensuing, and she connects with this rock star, and the two of them basically are trying to track down the cause of all of the chaos that is actually happening around them. And yeah, it was surprisingly detailed. Like the actual adventure was done really well. There were elements, I thought, of things like the Rivers of London series. You know, there was a fantastic scene where they were at the Cutty Sark, and all of the ship heads, the things that go on the front of ships. There's a collection of those heads there, and they all come to life and start talking and causing chaos. And that was as entertaining as anything you'd find in the Rivers of London series. So There's also a thing where they're chasing down the ghost of a mummy from the British Museum who is causing chaos, and they end up accidentally travelling in time to the Fire of London. So yeah, lots of really great set pieces, I thought. The romance itself was fine. Like, I enjoyed it more as the book went on. I don't think I was ever wildly invested, but at the same time, I wasn't not invested. I thought it was cute. I was rooting for those crazy kids to get together. And the other minor characters I really enjoyed. I thought we could have seen more from the Coven of Witches, especially as there were some that were had some comedy potential there. And the comedy itself, it was funny in places. The dialogue was good. I really think this is a series I'm, enjoying, and I'm looking forward to reading the third one in it, which is Hex Appeal. But yes, I gave this 4 stars. A really solid 4. I can't, it's never going to be a 5 in terms of a sort of quality, but at the same time, it's a strong 4. So yeah, if you're looking for cute witchy romance, go for it. I think it's a really good shout. And so yeah, there we are. We are finally at the end of this video, which is ballooned into something far longer than I expected, and at the same time didn't have half the things I wanted to have in it because I was absolutely whammied by this virus. But I can't regret it. I got an extra video out of it by having to do something else in the short term, and it's kind of proved to me that I'm dedicated enough to this to keep pushing on despite the setbacks. So yes, I really hope you enjoyed it. If you are by any miracle watching this, please let me know in the comments what cute Halloween things you are reading. What are your pumpkin spice books for this year? So let me know, and I look forward to hearing about them. Okay, speak soon. Bye.